Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is Perakee podcast number 5. I'm getting super stoked. I'm getting some now what I consider a legend of knowledge. I've heard about this man for years, and I've heard of him on my favorite podcasts, Tinfoil Hat, Duncan Trussell Family Hour, shout out, solid people. Well, I've heard about Miguel for quite a few years, but in the last two, 3 weeks, he's hit up both my favorite podcasts, and he's on there. And this man is incredible. I just sent him an email, and he's like, "Yeah, dude, let's do this." This is a beautiful, welcoming, engaging human being. I am so happy to have him on the podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Miguel Connor. His YouTube channel is called Aeon Bite. And this is the, what would you say? The Gnostic, the Gnosis with the Moses. Yeah. This guy's got knowledge to drop that's going to blow your skull back. This is the ancient stuff. This is stuff they keep out of the Bible. And I don't want to keep talking. I want this guy to talk. This is Miguel Connor. Miguel Connor, can you tell the people your background, who you are, what you do, and then we'll get into it.
Yeah, I guess, Brad, I would consider myself a simple heretic. All my life, I've been a spiritual hitchhiker, looking for the big answers of life. What is reality? What it means to be a human being? What's on the other side? Who's really pulling the strings? Stuff like that. You know, those kind of misfit kids that just don't belong, and that never stopped. And through many journeys and attempts and experiments and altered states and other things, I eventually came into this old, almost forgotten ancient wisdom called Gnosticism. And it really, I felt like I had come home. I mean, Carl Jung, one of the fathers of depth psychology, when he first read the Gnostic texts, even though his visions were very Gnostic, he himself said I felt like I had found my long lost friends. And I felt the same way too. It just fit. It answered the questions that I needed on this plane of existence. You know, why is there suffering, evil? What is reality? Blah, 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 and all this other stuff. So since then, as they say in AA, you've got to get it, you've got to give it away. So I started a podcast sort of just as a hobby many years ago. And just in the last 3 years, I decided to go full time, and it has really exploded. So I'm honored and humbled that there is interest for this sort of alternative spirituality called Gnosticism. So that's what I do. I put out podcasts, videos, articles, all on the topic of Gnosticism and Hermeticism.
That's terrific. That's great. And I think, like I'm saying, I don't have a huge following. A lot of, I'm telling you, 95 to 90% of my listeners are going to never have heard of the concepts you're going to tell, which I have followed for years. I've, as most of my followers know, work in a mining camp. I'm always away. I don't like Netflix. I don't like TV. I like to learn. It was starting for me was World War II documentaries when I was a kid. I don't like to have downtime. I like to learn. Mm-hmm. Miguel, you don't know a lot about me. I've had a lot of weird stuff in my life, which my followers know. As a young man, I was told at like 14, I was a Pleiadian and I was here to save the world. Some lady in my mom's hair salon. After that, at 22, I have these weird lines on my hands, which is the idea behind the Perakee. Mm-hmm. So everybody has a headline and a heart line, right? I don't. My head and heart are one. And so these are called Perakee warriors, and they guard all the South American pyramids. And they're like the druids, the shaman, and this is what these weird things and synchronicities have sent me on this path of knowledge. Like you said, Jung, like he's Carlos Castaneda, I'm sure you're familiar with.
Very influenced by Gnosticism.
Yeah. Sure. Since I was reading Carlos Castaneda, I was 13 years old, man. I'm 39. Like I've been on this path of knowledge and pursuit, and just thirsty. And you are a motherfucker that I ran into that blows my hair back. And this is what I want to bring to the people. So I don't know what's the best way, because I mean, I'm steeped in this. I've been listening to Art Bell with my grandfather since I was 12 or 13. So I'm already well-educated person on this. How do you think what I would say is best for the lay people, the people that will mostly be following my podcast? How do we introduce people into the Book of Enoch, the Gospel of Thomas, the Archons, Abraxas, these sorts of things? What's your best way of explaining that?
Well, I usually say you have to show people modern myths and stories that they can relate to. Because if you start talking with these highbrow philosophies or the way the ancients saw it might be strange, but when you couch it in a way they'll understand today, it makes sense. And the truth is, Gnosticism has had a huge impact on modern society. I will tell your viewers, all I have to show you is the movie The Matrix, heavily based on Gnosticism. The show, the hit show on HBO, Westworld. Even recently, WandaVision on the Disney Channel. And then there are other movies, The Truman Show, and others. Think of the works of Philip K. Dick, Blade Runner, Minority Report, Total Recall. Then they'll get an understanding more or less what is Gnosticism. But The Matrix is a good place to start. And I'm sure many of your viewers have read of the Da Vinci Code, one of the biggest bestsellers in human history, 80 million copies. It's a shit novel, but it really struck a chord because it was about Mary Magdalene, the suppression of the Gnostics with the Cathars, the rising Orthodox Church, and how it took over control over competing religions and so forth. So if your viewers can simply start with The Matrix, the Da Vinci Code, I think they'll get a good grasp of what is Gnosticism.
Yeah, like I don't know how much a lot of other people, but like I started realizing it was 9/11 that woke me up. And then The Matrix, I think it was 99, and then it was after that. And once you start, I got woken up by a really good group of coffee shop people, intellectuals, punk rockers. It was punk. They were punk rockers at the start, and then 8 Mile came out, and then everybody kind of started rapping. But these were highly intelligent people, and they were making the correlations and the things. You know, the ship is called Nebuchadnezzar in The Matrix. The Merovingian bloodline. This is all biblical. This is all ancient text. This is all
one of the ships is called the Gnosis. So
yeah,
it's right there.
Exactly. And I like that. Like the one thing that I always I try to explain to people is the sigil magic and stuff like that. That these Mason, I don't know if you want to call it like a Masonic or Illuminati or whatever kind of people that are Saturn worshipers, whatever you want to call them. They believe that, and I don't think I disagree, that they're putting the information out there. They're telling you that through code or through language or through things, and it all comes down to personal responsibility. Not that I agree with it, what they're doing at all, but codedly, biblically, all these different ways, they're putting the signs out there for you to clearly see what they're up to. And I do believe, I mean, you should personally be responsible to obtain as much knowledge as you possibly can. I mean, that I'm obsessed. I mean, I always have been, and to be paying attention to what is happening, and living a life of pursuit like that has led me to a gangster like yourself, an informational gangster, a gnosis warrior, a Gnostic warrior, in my books.
Yeah, it's of course it's never easy. It's never easy to take the red pill because you always have to start with the you always have to start with everything you've been taught is a lie. The biggest lie is you are a construct. You're programmed by your culture, your parents, your religion, and you have to dig really deep within yourself to find out who you are. And you probably are not going to find out, but you will find out what your purpose is. You'll find out, how do I fit in this shithole that we call reality in this world? And that's one of the things the Gnostics talk about, gnosis, is who am I at the end of the day? And they always said within us, there's something called a divine spark, a shard of infinity, consciousness, true unvarnished consciousness with all the layers of bullshit that were put over it. And then you will find your will, and you'll find how you are to release light or help this universe out. I mean, and of course, then there's the outward, that everything you've been taught is a lie, but that as the Gnostics said 2,000 years ago, reality is a construct. It is bad software, as author Sam Chris said. It's a simulation. The Gnostics came with the idea of the simulation theory before anybody in the West did, and it wasn't like this idea, this Eastern idea, well, it's an illusion. The Gnostics said, no, this is a construct. It's not a false reality, it's a faked reality. Somebody coded this reality around, think of the Matrix, and we are trapped here in this simulated reality. And nobody really thought, if you read the history of Western culture, nobody really thought of that until it became scientifically plausible, logical, and mathematical. You look at Swedish physicist Neil Bohlström. You look at Neil deGrasse Tyson. You look at Elon fucking Musk. They have all come out with these arguments that, again, are mathematical, are logical, that we live in a coded world, a simulation. And the Gnostics said this 2,000 years ago. And the question is, obviously, these modern scientists, now that it's acceptable in mainstream circles, say that, but they never give an answer. Well, who is it? The Gnostics 2,000 years ago came with the idea of the Archons, Greek for prince or ruler. And these Archons were these superior, supernatural, paranormal beings, perhaps angels, that's the word they would use 2,000 years ago, who created the code that we lived in and feed off of our divine spark to sustain the simulated reality. Much like in the Matrix, they feed off of the Matrix feeds off of the electricity in our brains to sustain the simulation, the computer. And these Archons basically keep us trapped. They often associated the Archons with a lot of the gods, the pagan gods, but they also associated the Archons, the chief Archons, with the God of the Old Testament, that sort of angry storm god in the Old Testament. And very much like the Matrix, some of us are ready to wake up, and these forces beyond the Matrix of good, the ultimate consciousness, will send down people or figures to wake us up, like Morpheus in the Matrix. And each of us has the ability to wake up to our original state of being, our original source. The Gnostics obviously would have said Jesus was this Gnostic revealer. To the Gnostics, Jesus didn't come to save us from our sins. He came to wake us up, to tell us, hey, you're better than the gods. You're better than this world. Wake the fuck up. Let's save as many people as we can, and we'll collapse the Matrix, and something better will come up. And the Gnostics had many of these revealers: Buddha, Mary Magdalene, Paul, Simon Magus. There were those around history who want to wake us up to our true nature. And through these shamanistics, very important, the Gnostics were shamanistic. They believed in ecstatic, altered states of mind. We could travel beyond the stars with the red pill, this part of gnosis, and commune with this supreme consciousness, or at least these ecstatic rituals would wake us up, would get us out of our sleep, our stupor, our drunkenness that most of humanity lingers in as they are fed off by the Archons. So that's kind of a snapshot of the Gnostics right there.
No, and that's good. And I mean, I relate to it on so many levels. I mean, just the zombie-like state, I think, is like we're at a tenfold with all the devices and things these days. These people back in the old days were speaking about how you could be lulled into sleep and this and that, just by your day-to-day living and your responsibilities and trivial.
The propaganda of the empire and the Jewish temple and the Catholic Church, all that's same stuff, and bread and circuses, same stuff they did last time. So.
And it'll draw your psyche in, it'll suck you in, and my belief, I draw it. Like I'm of Irish background. I have this thing that makes me a Perakee from South America, Toltec, all these ancient things. So I design my own religion, Jedi type of, but the biggest thing I realized is that your frame of mind, your attitude towards life is what creates your reality. But I mean, and that's all you could do is the best you could do for yourself, right? Is make yourself a better person, your home a better person, your community, and be involved and give and live a life of abundance and give and share and make a difference in your life. And
Yeah, and
yourself, your
always
home.
give yourself permission to change your beliefs, change your
Yes,
worldview, keep
yes.
adapting. You don't have to be stuck to
No.
something if you don't like it. If a political party or a religion or a group of friends ain't doing it, it's not feeding your soul and expanding your consciousness, change. Your authentic self is eternal. That's what you're looking for. All the rest are just vehicles and tools for you to use to find out your heroic self, your purpose in this universe. The most important thing, I mean, that's what Carl Jung said, is we didn't come to this world to be good. We came to be ourselves. That will include being good, but it will include so much more. Being useful, saving others, helping the least of our brothers, being artistic, inventive. It'll include a lot more in what our purpose is.
Well, that's what I find. So many people I meet today are on anti-anxiety, antidepressants, all these sorts of things. And it's that what my belief is that you don't have fulfillment, you don't have purpose in your life. You don't have a, you're not inventing the flux capacitor. You're not doing something which would, something that's what I'm searching for. And I think I'm really finding it with podcast streaming, communicating with people, because all it's done is listen my whole life. And I got a lot to say, and I love bantering and shooting the shit with intellectuals like yourself. And the best thing I've found that I can do is be the best I can, keep a positive frame of mind. I'm very cognizant of, I work underground. You don't know much about me, Miguel. I work underground in a mine, miles under the ground. And like I always say, I don't know if it's the quartz or this or that, but your mental attitude has an extreme effect on the situation that's happening there, and you really have to know who you're working with. It's a very dangerous environment, and I know it. When you bring a new guy down, if you have a guy that has a bad attitude on the crew, I don't know if it's the quartz crystal and the stuff that's around the gold that makes it manifest super quick, but it's the ambiance of the team, the energy of the team and everything that's going on. But it happens in fifth dimensional real time down there. You can't have people that are scared. You can't have people that have a bad attitude. And that's one thing I always try to convey to people is your attitude towards life. And I mean, you got in the sacred scrolls, I guess Dead Sea Scrolls and stuff like that. Like I believe it's Jesus saying something about like combining your mind with your emotion and the mountain to move, and you're going to know it exactly, but to the word, the mountain will move, right? Like, and what's concerning in this day and age is that they control the narrative, they control the information and everything that we're being fed, which is going to control what we're thinking about our reality. That's a huge weapon.
Yeah. He who controls the meaning of words controls reality itself. That's what Philip K. Dick said. He also said, since the universe is made of information, then it can be said information will save us. So it is about grasping the right information and your inner information. I mean, you're talking about people on antidepressants. The truth is our soul knows the answer, or the gods, or anything like that. So people think that a mental illness or a depression is a bad thing, and if you want, you can take, some people do need extreme measures temporarily, hopefully, but when you're depressed or anxious or anything like that, it's your soul telling you something. It's information that's coming from within, and it's telling your ego you're not aligned with your purpose, you're not aligned with who you are, you're in a bad place. So it's time you take a look deep inside and you fucking change things now. And if you listen to this, eventually you will find where you need to go, and the depression and the anxiety and all that will disappear because you're aligned with yourself and you're aligned with the universe. I think it's something very important. Somebody told me, a wise person told me, when you feel depressed and you feel suicidal, it does mean something needs to die, but it's not you. That's where we humans get, it's your worldview needs to die. You need to destroy the way you see the world and the way you see yourself, because something new has to come up. That's where the message is. So you have to see it all, that it's, the information is there to save you, the means are there to save you, but like you said, we've been conditioned to have this set of beliefs, this conditioning, this training, this idea that we're less than we are, and eventually what we become slaves, and we become very depressed slaves. Again, look at the movie The Matrix. Neo was floundering. He was depressed, alone. He was doing that, like, hacking on the side, and he had this shitty day job. But it was the Matrix that was bringing him down, not himself. And luckily not luckily, but he met Morpheus. You're out there reaching people, the master will show up when the pupil's ready, and that will spark you to take that next step. And I think we're in a time when a world that we all need to pivot to reach our potential and stop listening to the false coding that we've all been given.
I 100% agree. And that's, the thing that I find with people is like exactly like I said, like purpose in life and everything, the awakening.
Awakening is a good one.
Yeah. People are so lulled into sleep and everything with their life and feel like they have no purpose and feel like so of course, if you're just like, it's all a person can do by the end of the day, by their 8-hour shift, is come home and sit on the couch. Fuck it, I'm done, and put on the Netflix. So this is where I'm at. We have to take a little more responsibility for our lives. We got to push a little harder. We got to go a little farther, and we got to take a little responsibility. And as we said, or as I think I said before, with the sigil magic, they can only pull this stuff on us if we allow it. If we're unaware of it, they can't pull this on people that are aware of what is happening. And you're going to have that. We all have to do our 9 to 5s. We all have to do our jobs, and we're all going to have to go a little harder. And what that's a fine, with everything, with the thing I don't want to speak of, the jabby jab and all that.
Yeah, not on YouTube. You'll get canceled.
Yeah. If you want to push a little harder, if you want to actually educate yourself, you're going to be awakened to things. And I think your perspective would be quite different. But I find so much pushback and this and that on people that don't do any research, anything. They watch the regular news, and I always just try to drop facts on anything. You want to talk about ancient aliens, this, that, any sort of thing. The most resistance I get are from the people that are the most uneducated, that aren't doing anything, that aren't like, I don't watch TV. I don't do anything besides, like nature, exercise, and then reading and ancient, just learning all the time. But the people that are the least educated, the least open-minded, the least are the first ones to tell you you're crazy, you're conspiracy theorist. It's mind-blowing.
Yeah, and I would say to your viewers, I know sometimes fear is a factor, and as Dune says, fear is the mind killer.
Oh, you're killing me.
There's no real. All fear is our want for control, and it's an instinctual. At the core, it's us not wanting to die. That's where most of our fears come from. But we were never in control. We can live, but we're not in control of life. That's just the way it is. There's two choices. But I understand it's hard, because what I like about Gnosticism is they were considered world haters, but they weren't. They were realists, because they said, yes, this world is a horror. I mean, like you said, it's easier to live your life, watch Netflix, have a few beers, and to realize the crimes that our religions, our governments have done throughout history. I mean, it's sometimes it's mind-boggling. And then you go beyond that. Well, look at this universe of viruses and weather cataclysms and temporality and predators, a universe where everything has to feed on the suffering and death of something else to survive. Like the Gnostics would say, only a madman or a mad god would create this universe of, so much suffering and death and temporality. They would say, no, he's not an intelligent designer, and an intelligent designer, this demiurge ahead of the Archons. But the truth is, this is a horror of a universe, and this is something Joseph Campbell said, yes, there is a horror, but you have to face it, you have to embrace it, and in a way you have to love it. But there's also so much holiness. Unless you accept the horror, you can't see the holiness of the universe. You can't see the beauty of nature, the empathy of human beings and animals. You can't see the art that is out there. You need to watch both. And as a friend once told me, when you see the horror of the universe, including what your governments are doing and the sins that your parents did on you, you don't lose your innocence, you simply lose your ignorance. Your innocence is untouched, it's eternal. We're all childlike inside of us with our divine spark or consciousness. So face the universe, face the horror, and embrace both the horror and the light of this universe, and you'll be a balanced person, because each one of us is heaven and hell as well. Simple as that.
Well, I mean, for me, you laid it out. I 100% agree with everything you just said. I don't know what the viewers are thinking. They might be new to all this sort of information, but for me, and the things I've studied, Book of Enoch, Gospel Atomic, the Essenes. The Essenes were people, these were essentially cave-dwelling monks in the mountains, right? So the point of this to me, or where it comes across, is you must seek knowledge. You must seek knowledge, or knowledge of personal self. Like you have to set an intention, and of the best one, if you want to get into the Masonic, the Rosicrucian, all these things, is the knowledge of yourself. And the best way you can get to the root of all it is sitting down with yourself personally. And I'm not recommending this to anybody. Are psychedelics. I mean, I grew up in just outside of Vancouver, British Columbia, and the psilocybin mushrooms grew as thick as blades of grass. Oh, and I've been doing those since I was 12 or 13 years old, and I have no doubt in my mind that I'm a complete lunatic and crazy person. And my pineal gland at 12 or 13 years old was like Terence McKenna talks about the heroic doses and of 3 to 5 grams. Man, I was like 13 and doing that or more, and this and that, my dreams, my visions, my intuitions, in my life, I felt I've been guided my entire life with synchronicity things, and that have led me and brought me to this point where I am here with you. I'm starting to get to talk with like I said, intellectual royalty as far as I'm concerned, and this is terrific. And I fiercely feel this is like angelically or whatever you want to believe, is guided. It's a path that is unstoppable. I don't know if your life has been that way for yourself, like synchronicities, guidance, the higher power helping you along. I've had signs like that my whole life. Maybe I'm just totally schizophrenic. Who knows? But I mean, it seems to be working.
Yeah, usually in my life, the one person who gets in the way is myself. My self-sabotaging self. Alcoholism kicks in, manic depression, and then I get lost for a while. But luckily, I've been able to sustain some sanity or insanity for the last few years. I mean, that's what Jung said: show me a sane man and I will cure him. So I can't say, but yeah, if entheogens is your way, what I like also about Gnosticism too is that there's no 10 steps to get here or be saved or be enlightened. The Gnostics were complete anarchists. They spread out in lodges, and they all had different rituals. They all had different structures. They were completely individualistic, and there was basically saying that, you know, whatever works for you works for you. There's a Gnostic scholar, Jungian scholar, that said, June Singer said, Gnosis speaks to us each individually as we need it. So to each his own.
So I'm going to put you on the spot here. I can't help it. It's who I am. And this is a touchy subject for myself, coming from a Masonic lineage, which I have not pursued, coming from a Rosicrucian lineage, which I have not pursued. I'm not trustful of organized mystery schools. Mm-hmm. As you say, as we're speaking of, this is a journey within, an individualistic, know thyself journey. I don't doubt they got some wicked secrets that could help any man, any person, any individual better themselves, as they say, making good men better. I am skeptical of being in a group and being in a whatever. That I just don't think I could do it. They scare me. This is definitely my spiritual path, an individual path myself. I'm skeptical and apprehensive of Rosicrucian and Freemason, even though I understand what's explained to me is that they're the opposite, which is the Freemasons claim to be about sharing and being open to the community. The Rosicrucian are about diving into the individual, into themselves, and finding the secrets. I mean, I think you can find the path to enlightenment either way. I'm very skeptical of joining a group. And I respect you and your opinions, and want to know what your thoughts on that.
Well, to each his own. I mean, I don't know. I have always thought that spirituality it can't be a do-it-yourself project. I mean, by definition, we are humans. We are creatures who create egregores with one another, who learn from one another, and who feel from one another. I myself, I'm not into any organized group. I like shamanistic, or I've had good success in shamanistic ayahuasca groups where we're all together chanting. I love to meditate, but I do feel if I'm in a group of people, my meditation is more intense. And I like any I guess I'm different. I like any type of religious service. I've been to everything. I've been to mosque, ashrams, Catholic, Protestant, Jewish ceremony. I mean, spiritualist churches. I've done everything because, again, you can feel the energy rising up, and you have the choice to reinterpret everything you see to suit how you like it. So, and all these people there, if you really think, they're looking for God, they're looking for something higher than themselves. So how can you not want to be with these? Maybe they're asleep, maybe they have some questionable views, but at the end of the day, they are looking over the horizon. So I enjoy these things, but for the most part, I am pretty much a solitary guy. But I do enjoy. I'm a fan of comparative religion and experiences, like, you know, William James wrote about this, and to understand the energies, the beliefs, and the rituals. Many of these rituals in all these places, whether it's a Hindu ashram or a Shiite mosque, this is stuff that they've been this is spiritual technology they've been cultivating for hundreds, thousands of years. So why not get something useful out of it? It's not like I'm going to join any of these places anyway. At the end of the day, I come home and I take what I need, and hopefully I learn something, and hopefully if I get the chance, I can teach others.
Well, I think we're about the same kind of man. I mean, like writing your own religion, and I mean that's what Buddha said, Jesus said. As far as I could tell, I mean, myself, originally growing up Catholic, Sunday school, those sorts of things, and my mom, even when I was in the younger years of high school, had switched to Wicca, so that was already a big change up for me. Oh man, I saw the Dalai Lama with my mom. Very spiritual. Shout out to mom.
Cool.
I saw the Dalai Lama in Vancouver when I was 20. And that was real, to see real division and stuff. it was uncanny. As we were going into the Pacific Coliseum in Vancouver, there were all these Christians shouting at us with signs that we were all going to burn in hell for going to see the Dalai Lama. But do you know who the Dalai Lama's guest was?
Oh,
Archbishop Desmond Tutu. So
oh,
like,
cool. How cool.
yeah, no, and those guys just shot the shit and told jokes for a couple hours. And I was about 20 years old, and they said, whatever you were born into, that's probably good enough. All religions are good. All religions teach peace. All religions talk about sharing, caring, treat others as you want to be treated. So they said, whatever you're born into, that's going to be easiest on you, and just carry on with that. And I thought to myself, how like secure they are in their beliefs. They're not trying to gain a following or anything. And I'm like, wow, that makes a lot of sense to me, right? Like,
yeah, and all religions have a shadow side. Buddhism has a dark
100%,
shadow.
100%.
Catholicism, they all have a shadow side. Just as all we human beings, we have a shadow side. He is without sin, cast the first stone.
Oh yeah. Every day I'm trying to improve and be a better man, eat better, exercise better, do this. And I do a rigorous camp schedule, going away for 2 weeks at a time, 12-hour days under the ground, this and that. And you know what? As much as I hate it, that rigorous schedule, I never feel more healthy and happy and this and that. And every time I say, this time when I come out, I'm going to behave myself. I'm not going to drink. I'm not going to do this. I'm going to be healthy and this and that. Then you're like, fuck, I deserve it. And you know what? You drink beer for one night and you feel like crap for 2 days. So I think at 39, I might be growing up. I'm not sure yet. I'm not sure if I'm ready yet, but I'm coming to that conclusion. And I find that with most of these truth seekers and podcasters and everybody I'm listening to and conversing with, as much as I don't want to admit it, it's keeping your high vibration. Keeping this is something, and it's not only, it's more than yourself. It's a responsibility of keeping yourself in a higher vibration. I guess for everybody, for the betterment of humanity. It's about taking responsibility for yourself. Raising your vibration is the only way you're going to raise the vibration in your house, then your community, and then beyond, I think.
Yeah, it's like Ursula Le Guin, the famous science fiction writer, said, how you play is what you win. At the end of the day, it's who you are.
Miguel, I don't know if it'd be too deep of a dive. I don't know how much time we have left. I haven't been watching, but like the stuff that's always blown my hair back, I don't know if you could give a layman's thing about like Abraxas and the Old Testament and all these things, like just a way you could, like, the God above God and all these, if it's tough, I don't know.
Yeah, that would be hard. I can say that the Gnostics, when they talked about the God above God, they were talking about the supreme consciousness, this the font of existence and being, pure, unfiltered, and light and good information, not matter, that we are here. But that's what everything happened, and everything spreads out through it until we get to our world. The Gnostics posited there might have been some sort of cosmic cataclysm, a glitch as the mind was working things out. They had many theories, but that's their creation myth. But somehow we ended up with this world, often mismanaged by the Archons. Of course, you could say in the book of Enoch, it's the angels who have taken over. Paul in the New Testament, he definitely talks about the God of this world, the powers and principalities. He specifically uses the word archons. So Paul is indicating that these beings have taken over the material world, and they're basically mismanaging, and there needs to be a change in leadership, if you would. The archons, the Nephilim, the watchers, the powers and principalities of Paul need to be removed. And that's where, again, figures like Jesus and others can wake us up to be able to break the yoke of these cosmic rulers, these lords of fate that have taken over the universe, Agent Smiths in the Matrix. So the God above God was the term that they didn't use it. It was actually a theologian, Paul Tillich, who called it that, the God above God, because again, the supreme being of this universe, the God of the Old Testament, is ultimately an Archon, a fallen angel, a demented mind, a mad god, the architect of the Matrix. So, but there is another unknown supreme consciousness that they call the invisible spirit and all that. Abraxas is a hard one, and I know because again, I've talked to Sam Tripoli many times. He's fallen, he's
He
really
loves
gotten
it.
into Abraxas big time.
Chicken
And
snake god.
oh yeah, but it's almost, it's hard to say because Abraxas appears in many ancient coins and gems. We don't know, if there's very little evidence that the Knights Templar were into the occult, but we do have a fact that they used the Abraxas seal to protect their treasures, which was a big deal because again, this being Abraxas and many of these gems are both to attract and protect us, because it was this mysterious being. We first hear it, and there are Egyptian paintings or murals from thousands of years that seem to depict Abraxas with the snake legs and other things. Some have said the god Typhon or Seth was sometimes depicted with snake legs. The Persians worship the Gorgons. We think of Medusa, but there were other Gorgons who had snake legs. So there's this primordial gods, mysterious gods that history has forgotten. And Abraxas seems to be one of the few that passed through. And there was a Gnostic teacher, sage called Basilides in ancient Alexandria, who seemed to revere Abraxas. And to him, the universe was very vast. The Gnostics divided the universe into dimensions. The ancients did that too, but the Gnostics went crazy, like video game crazy, like levels and levels and levels with bosses and archons. And if you wanted to get to the supreme consciousness, you had to fight either these archons with magical passwords and all that. But Basilides said there were 365 dimensions, and the lowest one was ruled by Jehovah. Now, the supreme being, and he was the weakest of the 365 rulers of these dimensions. To get to the supreme consciousness or escape the universe, you had to go all the way to the top. And at the top was Abraxas, the ruler of everything. You might say he is everything and nothing in this universe, but he's still not the everything. There might be something higher, but it's very ambiguous because in some writings, he seems to be the God above God, the font of being, the font of all reality. In others, he seems to be the head of all the demons that rule this universe. He's not a good figure, or he's ambiguous, or he's beyond morality, beyond good and evil, this alien being that rules all the other beings in this universe. So it's hard to tell, and he appears in magical papyri, he appears in magician books, but he appears for the Knights Templar, but we still know very little bit about Abraxas. That's how mysterious. It's almost, Baphomet is another example. If you've heard about Baphomet, he appears, Eliphas Levi writes about him. Again, they accuse the Knights Templar of worshiping Baphomet. But at the end of the day, we know nothing about it. And like Abraxas, he's got all these beast parts and symbols and all that, but we know very little about Baphomet. But he's definitely, captured the imagination of occultism in the last 100 years. Same with Abraxas. I had this chaos magician as a guest, and he said, well, Baphomet and Abraxas, they are unfinished gods. Humanity is still discovering these gods, but they are not only these primordial gods, but they could be the gods of the future, these gods that we all interact and bring alive, but they're still independent, but they're interactive in a way. Carl Jung, in his 7 Sermons of the Dead, wrote about Abraxas, how he stood above reality. He was what kept reality together, and he stood above God and Satan as sort of the ultimate arbiter of everything that was. And people thought that he was talking about Abraxas as a benign being, even though he says to see Abraxas is madness, because he is that point where we can perceive the divine, that one point where consciousness appears in matter, and that one point where divinity, where the all manifests in reality. But to see Abraxas is insanity for anybody to see the universe as it is, as the all in one shot. But then in some of his later translations that just came out in the last year, the Black Books, he sees Abraxas ultimately as a negative being. He is the force that binds this universe, but he's also the force that keeps us here. We are forever trapped, our souls, in this universe as long as Abraxas is around. He keeps everything attached and together and in one place, and he is the one who's fooling us into staying. So that's the best. Nobody's going to give you a better explanation, because that's it. I mean, yeah, Carlos Santana came out with the Abraxas. He appears in Magician Scrolls, but at the end of the day, there is maybe Sam Tripoli will have an insight.
He loves Abraxas and Chicken Snake God. Dude, you couldn't have nailed it down any better. But the one last thing, because you're so schooled and knowledge in it, is like, if you could explain to the lay people like Sophia and the Demiurge, because that's coming up on that, what's that kid show on Netflix? Sorry, I've had a few beer. They talked about the Demiurge. It's like it's coming from a Dungeons and Dragons sort of place, the Demiurge. That show, really popular one. The girl was called 11.
Oh, yeah, Stranger. Yeah. The Demogorgon. That was Voltaire.
The Demigorgon.
That was Voltaire, the Enlightenment philosopher, called the Demiurge the Demogorgon. You are correct.
Yeah. So this is becoming pop culture. What was that show called? Do you remember? Sorry.
Stranger Things.
Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
So it always is to me, like, you know what I mean? You know the rules of sigil magic and this and that. They put the information out there. It's up to you.
Yeah, hidden in plain sight. Yeah.
Responsibility to decipher. And then when I see stuff like this, and my kids are all into it, and they're like, "Watch this, Dad," and I watch this, and they're talking about the Demiurge and this, and I'm like, "Whoa, what the hell?" I'm like, "This is going way above everybody's head." Mm-hmm. They don't know what these people are talking about, and you and I both fully know the government is like proven time and time and again. I'm pretty sure there was a girl called like the Montauk Girl who has been online, I think, since like 2002 or something. Who has pretty much, that's what Stranger Things was based off of, was her what she claimed. We don't know, but she claims those were her personal experiences. But if you could explain the story of Sophia and the Demiurge and this and that, and this is ancient. This is ancient as all knowledge can be. And most people don't know that these are where these terms come from.
Yeah, I mean, the Demiurge appears in Plato, and Plato said that the Demiurge was this organizing principle, again, a sort of supreme being, who organized the universe that we live in and created this harmonious place. You might say that the Freemasons would, the architect that they taught, the grand architect.
Right.
And this being had organized the universe. The Gnostics came and said, no, we think this Demiurge is a bad guy. He's botched up the universe at best. Again, they associated him with Kronos. They associated him with Jehovah in the Old Testament. Sometimes Osiris. The Gnostics said all these gods are batshit crazy. But the Demiurge was the head of all the Archons or the gods. He was the chief ruler of this dimension we live in. And in one of the creation myths, you have, as the mind, when you have this, the supreme intelligence coming aware, at some point there's just being, and being will ask the question, who am I? As soon as the supreme being, or the font of all reality awareness, becomes aware and says, who am I? It's going to create a division, a duality, right? Who am I? Well, to know who you are, you need something to tell you who you are, right? So this being creates another being, this reflection, and says, well, you are the supreme being. And then the supreme, well, what else am I? Well, you are perfection. Well, you are eternity. And the supreme being sees its mind flowing out in all these characteristics, and it just keeps going on. The Gnostics call these aspects of the mind aeons, like Crowley would have done, but it's not time, it's an aspect of the supreme beings. And the supreme being keeps knowing itself, and it creates a sort of giant constellation of light, eternity, good, truth, all that, so the supreme being can understand who it is, kind of like a baby being told what it is. You know, you are this, you are that. In the Gnostic tales, based on the Old Testament, if you look at the Old Testament and Jewish literature, and appears too in the book of Enoch, there's this lost figure called wisdom. And the book of Enoch says wisdom has been rejected by men. In the Old Testament, wisdom is there, lost. The Shekinah in the Kabbalah, wisdom is lost and men cannot find her. And the Gnostics always probably said, well, who is this figure? Why is this wisdom figure lost in the world that all these rabbis and prophets are talking, and the Greek philosophers are lovers of Sophia, and everybody's looking for Sophia, for wisdom in this universe? There must be a problem, right? It seems to be part of the human condition. We all want wisdom, and nobody knows where this goddess wisdom is. And look at our world, how we treat each other. We have no wisdom. Civilizations, wars, greed, people acting stupid. So the Gnostics very logically said that when the mind of God was knowing each other, one of the aeons was called wisdom. And she, for some reason that's, again, kind of ambiguous, she rebelled or fell out of the mind of God. Some say, well, wisdom is wisdom. Wisdom's going to explore. I mean, if you meet somebody who's wise, they've gone through a lot, and they've probably done a lot of shitty things to people. That's why they're wise. So wisdom somehow rebelled or fell, Sophia. And she falls out of this realm of the characteristics of the supreme being or the supreme mind. And in the Gnostic creation myth, she falls and she becomes pregnant with her own desire, her own rebellion, her own transgression. And she has a child. And this child is the demiurge. And the demiurge comes out of her, and he's usually depicted as a serpent with a lion's head. There's a ancient Egyptian tyrant god called Chernubis that probably they used his imagery, because the Gnostics came from Egypt and they were part of the Egyptian mysteries. So this demiurge, Sophia gives birth to this demiurge. The demiurge then rebels from his own mother, and when she falls, all her passions and desires and anger also creates the material world. And the demiurge basically takes over, takes some of her power, and calls himself the ruler of this world. And he's going to run things as he wants to run them, because he's decided, I am the supreme being. So then Sophia realizes that the only way she can go back to this mind of God to restore everything to its unity, she has to go to war with her son, the demiurge, and try to steal back the power that he stole. And because the demiurge is hiding her power in each one of us as our souls or divine sparks, she has to get all these divine sparks back to herself, restore the universe, and defeat her son, the demiurge. So that's sort of cliff notes on the creation myth and Sophia. Sophia was very, very important to the Gnostics as she was to ancients. They came up with a story of why wisdom was lost in the world, as so many ancient books kept saying, declaring.
Jesus, Mary, and Joseph. Like, there's not a better person.
I haven't even, we haven't even talked about Jesus plays into it.
I hope my viewership and this and that will research this sort of stuff. I'm pretty well versed in this sort of stuff, and you just put a shotgun to my forehead and blew it right out the back of my head. There's nobody more knowledgeable, man. Hands down, I bow down. I'm so thankful to be with you today. But the one thing I want to ask you, so this is where I get, and when I try to explain to people, so these stories and things, I'm asking your opinion, putting you on the spot. Do you think these are aliens or interdimensional beings, or this, or that the way the people, these ancient people interpreted things? Do you think these are outer worldly entities, interdimensional entities? How do I can't even put it, but what do you want to say? Aspects of yourself, of the mind, of the subconscious. I can't come up with the words. Parables, allegories, and stuff.
Well, I think it could be all of
your own psyche. What is your opinion on them?
Could be all of the above. I mean, I think there is an otherness out there. I mean, I have experienced ghosts and talking to spirits, so there is an otherness about there. There are other dimensions, higher dimensions. So I think these beings are real, but they do manifest as we understand them through our cultural conditioning. I think Whitley Strieber talks a lot about that, you know, he makes the joke, if we want to see better aliens, we got to make better science fiction movies, because if you see something that's completely alien that your mind is not programmed to understand, it's going to create what it can understand. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's going to find a way to give it shape and rationalize what it is, and it might be angel, it might be alien. Maybe in 100 years it will be quantum strings that are sentient. But it's going to give it form, and that's the best we can do, because we're in our monkey stage right now. We are meat sacks, and we just got to do the best. But there is an otherness out there, but I do think we do have to give it form. And of course, not just Whitley Strieber. I don't know if you've read John Keel and the Mothman prophecies. Again,
yes.
Trans-dimensional or hyper-dimensional beings. And of course, it's going to look where we are in history, and ultimately their morality or their desires might be different than ours, but it's the best we can do right now.
You're nailing my beliefs like 2,000%. You look at things like Skinwalker Ranch or areas.
I was just reading about that today. Yeah.
So areas of high, what do you want to call them? Maybe the chakras of the earth, ley lines, spiritual, high energy places where rivers flow, where mountains meet, where ley lines cross. These will be high focus points of energy, and it's all depends on your perspective and where you are at spiritually, mentally, and this, that, how you may perceive a Sasquatch, you may perceive an alien, you may perceive a ghost, you may, and in these high focal points of energy, you are constantly getting people reporting all three, all this, all of the above, spiritual experiences, this and that. So that's kind of like exactly what you just said is where I'm at. It's about really where you are at. I think how open your mind and your heart is, and your perception, and probably subconsciously what you already know you need to learn in life, or what you need to look into in life, or what, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, that's where I'm coming from. Like, you're gonna, I don't know subconsciously how to interpret if you see a Sasquatch or an alien or a ghost. If you want to read the cards and try to figure out what avenue you should take and start learning about and stuff like that now. I mean, that's how I look at it. I mean, I think that's what I think I'm picking up what you're putting down. I mean, that's how I interpret it.
Yeah. I think that's yeah. I think we agree. It's we have to be honest with our limitations and just keep studying, even if these are alien beings. They've probably mastered some sort of interdimensional travel. They might not be flesh anymore, might be some sort of energy. So there would still be like gods, and there's many possibilities that many of these theories fit together. So I say enjoy the ride, experience. At the end of the day, it's still the same game. Know yourself. No matter if you run into alien abduction or Bigfoot out there, nothing has changed. You're there to know yourself. If you run into an angel, the gods, nothing. As a human being, your job, your primary purpose has not changed at all. You've just been lucky that the veil has been ripped a little bit. So enjoy it. You're one of the lucky ones.
You're a weirdo. You're a freak.
Yeah. Wouldn't have it any other way, right? That's what we want.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I'm all about. I mean, I'm a freak. I've had all these extremely weird experiences in my life, which has propelled me to want to talk to other weirdos like yourself. And I don't want to keep too much of your time. We agreed upon an hour. I know we're already over that. I know you're a father of 5, correct?
Yeah, well, I mean, 2 have already left the nest, but I still have 3 small ones. So yes, and 3 dogs. Plenty of, oh wow, how cool!
I got 4 brother and 2 dogs and a horse, and when my dad lives with me behind. And
that's awesome.
I understand.
Awesome.
I don't want to keep you any longer than I have to. I understand you're a busy man, and you could probably get a lot of better people to talk to than me. But I nothing but graciousness. I feel like I'm talking with podcast royalty today.
Nah,
and
some guy.
Well, no, man, you're not just some guy. You drop knowledge bombs. You're blowing my head back, and that's why I reached out to you. And the whole point of me bringing you on, I don't have a huge following yet, is that most of my following is family, friends, and coworkers and people in my life. I want them to check you out, because what we have discussed today is not even the tip. You didn't even throw the tip in. There's no point. There's no way to reach orgasm until they go to Aeon Bite.
Exactly,
is that correct?
Yeah. Yes, the godabovegod.com, or type in Aeon Bite, and my site has explainer videos, my books, Voices of Gnosticism, my podcasts, do the contact me if you have questions about Gnosticism YouTube channel. It's all there if you want to understand it. Obviously, I mean, if nobody had heard of Buddhism and some guy came on, he's not going to do it in an hour, but at least you can go somewhere and sort of get what Buddhism is. But yeah, I would go to the godabovegod.com and check out my work, and hopefully you'll find something valuable for your own life.
And that's Aeon Bite on YouTube, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Do you want to spell that out? Because some people are
yeah, AEON, not traditional Aeon EON. It's AEON. Bite is BYTE.
That's right. And people, I'm telling you, I've been a truth seeker since 12 or 13 years old. I found this guy years ago. Were you on Art Bell? I know I've known about you for many more years until I got a hold of you.
No, God, no. Coast
you haven't been on Art Bell? I thought, no. But you just came up on Tinfoil Hat and Duncan Trussell Family Hour, and I was like, wham, and then Todd Armstrong, good buddy of mine, had you on, and he was like, oh no, he's so super approachable, awesome guy. I'm like, what the hell, wing it. And I've been listening to you for years, and you are an amazing individual. You're part of the fight, man, to awaken.
So are you, my friend.
And I very much appreciate you coming on my very small time podcast.
Oh, you'll grow it in time. It takes time to build an audience, so keep doing what you're doing. Everybody starts somewhere.
If they say that's all it takes is passion, man, I mean, that's all I have. So I know it's going to be unstoppable, right?
Yeah. Have passion, and always go a little bit beyond your edge. Keep your edge, and keep trying new ideas, new guests, new themes. I mean, what I tell any podcaster, which is why I did a bite, is ultimately like writing a novel or a book. You want to find your own voice. Brad, you're not even close to finding your own voice, and
Not even.
that's going to be more important than whatever guests you get. Your guests will be part of you finding your voice, like any blogger, author. But when you find your voice, that's when the real fun and the passion starts, and the challenge. So enjoy the ride and just find your voice, find out who you are, and like I said, to spread that information. To get it, you got to give it away, because somebody out there needs the information you have. They're a stage before you are, and they're going to need what you
Yeah.
have to tell them. And you'll eventually wake up people, and you probably are, and you'll save a few lives on the road. That's what we're all doing.
Well, apparently I'm like this shamanistic alien warrior here to save the world, as far as I've been told. So
Yeah, probably,
I,
yeah.
I'm just riding the river and doing what all signs are pointing to. And we're gonna end it now, folks. I want to thank Miguel with all of my heart, with all of my love, my family to yours, brother. Stay on the line. I'm gonna end the recording.
Thanks for having me on.